Hey guys.
Today we're going to be making and showing the chemistry of sourdough.
So we already fed our sourdough starter, so now it's active, which is what you need to make the bread.
So the first thing you do is put your mixing bowl on the scale and zero it out. Okay, now we're going to put in 375 grams of warm filtered water.
Now we're adding 100 grams of active starter into the mix.
Now mix the starter and water.
Now put in 500 grams of all-purpose flour. The flour and water is a stable blend of bacteria and yeast.
Water triggers yeast and bacteria to pre-digest the carbohydrates from the flour. This then leads to fermentation.
Fermentation is a chemical process by which molecules such as glucose are broken down anaerobically.
During the fermentation process, yeast and bacteria convert the simple sugars in the flour into other organic substances like carbon dioxide, ethanol, and acids.
Now we're putting in 11 grams of salt.
Okay, now we're going to knead and then let rest. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, so now we're going to do our first fold. Okay, to shape it, you pull and then fold all four sides.
The chemical elements that are involved in sourdough starter is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, which are found in the flour and water used to create the starter and are utilized by the naturally occurring yeast and bacteria to produce carbon dioxide.
Okay, now we're doing our second set of stretch and folds.
We have to wait 30 more minutes to do another one.
This brings air into the sourdough to make a fluffy loaf. The whole process in total takes about 8 hours. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, and now we're going to do our third folding and stretching.
So the pH level of sourdough changes according to the stage of fermentation it is at, but in general it has a pH of 3.5 to 5.
It is the acidity that keeps out of microorganisms such as E. coli and fungi.
So it's good for you. Okay, so this is our last stretch and folding before we let it sit for 2 hours, and then once we let it sit for 2 hours, we'll put it in the fridge overnight and then come back in the morning.
Okay, it's been 2 hours since we last checked on the dough, and now you're going to flour your pan just a little bit so the dough doesn't stick, and then you're going to fold your dough into like a rectangle.
Okay, now we're going to cover it and put it in the fridge to do the overnight proofing.
Okay, we waited all night, and now we're going to do our last fold.
When done correctly, stretching and folding sourdough will strengthen the gluten and gently incorporate air into the dough without the need for kneading. It will also give your sourdough loaf a lofty rise.
The history of sourdough is one that dates back thousands of years, a time well before commercial yeasts were discovered. Okay, so now I'm just folding it for a while, just so then it gets good air and gluten. Okay, now I'm doing the final fold, and then we'll score it. Okay, now we're going to prepare the dish by putting parchment paper in first, so then it prevents burning.
Okay, now we're putting flour in the dish to prevent sticking while baking.
Okay, now we're going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, now that that's preheated, we're going to score the bread.
Before baking, the bread can be scored for a nice visual appeal. Scores allow your bread to expand in a desired effect.
As the dough is heating up, it will continue to expand until the crust is set, adding that unique sourdough crust flavor. Our bread is in the container.
Now we're going to bake for 20 minutes at 450 degrees, and then we'll come back.
Okay, we needed a dish with a lid, so we transferred it to this one. Okay, so we took it out of the oven. We had it with the lid on for 20 minutes in the oven, and then we took the lid off and kept it going for another 20 minutes. And then it wasn't quite done, so we put it in for another 10 to get it a little bit more browned.
And I don't think we did the chemicals right because it didn't really rise a lot. No. But that's okay because this is our first time doing it.
Yeah. We cut it open, and it's supposed to have air bubbles if you did it right.